Okay. Thank you, Sarah, very much. I'm very excited to see you again, this
Mhm.
time on the ROI podcast. I will tell you this, it has been a very interesting journey. This is our fourth episode. When I started this, right, obviously I want to give people a way to share, their use cases, best practices, and stuff like that, right? The other goal for me is to essentially give me an excuse to reach out to different people, old and new, and to talk to them about, hey, what have you been up to? So, and that had worked out very well. So far. I'm very happy, and you're my again fourth guest on the podcast. So a little bit about you. You have more than 14 years of experience in the technology space with companies like Dell, Salesforce, and now AWS. Your expertise is in sales strategy and in enablement, product marketing, and building and leading high-performance teams. You have been with AWS for over 4.5 years, all in product marketing. When you got there, you supported AI, and now you're leading teams that strategically scale marketing. You're based out of Washington, D.C., out of work. You're enjoying being active, fashion, and exploring all our nation's capital has to offer. How exciting!
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and, of course, to speak with you again.
Okay, great. So let's dive right in. Right. So AWS is a huge place. Please help
Mhm.
us understand where your team fits within AWS and what deliverables and support you provide to the rest of the organization.
Yeah, so I lead a fairly new team called the Foundational Marketing Team, and we're in the product marketing, portfolio marketing, and brand team. And as you mentioned, we provide strategic shared services for product marketers as well as the product management community. So this includes things like copywriting as a service, copy editing as a service, and program management. And we also have built out mechanisms to help scale marketing activities to different audiences. So, helping product marketers to do their job in a more efficient way, as well as some of those product managers who sometimes get stuck doing more than they expected when they joined AWS.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. Uh,
Yeah.
what are? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say a lot of what we do is supporting our most important new service launches. And so this includes our marquee events like reInvent, which is our biggest customer event of the year, bringing together the global cloud communities. So we work very closely with folks across AWS marketing, across the engineering organization, and of course the events team.
Okay. Great. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you see, especially around the annual reInvent time?
Yes, reInvent is all hands on deck. There is a lot of work that needs to get done, especially for the different types of marketing activities that support all of these really exciting and new launches. If you've ever led a launch or been involved in a launch, you know there's so much to do, especially at something that's so highly visible like reInvent. And it could be really hard to keep track of all the different deliverables, all the different things you're responsible for, because of course each one has a slightly different process, different group of stakeholders, and different types of deadlines. So communication really is key both within my team to make sure we're all aware of what needs to be done, but also with our internal customers and stakeholder teams that we work with. So, as much as we try, my team and the other teams that support reInvent can't be available around the clock to answer
Yeah, you have to
questions.
sleep.
And
Yes, right.
yeah, we have to sleep at some point. We want to make sure that reInvent, as well as any other launch we support, is as successful as possible. So even though we can't be available around the clock, you know what can be? A Gen
Yeah,
AI chatbot.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So that's great. What are you hoping to achieve with this new chatbot?
Yeah, so we were aware of one of our partner marketing teams that created a chatbot for reInvent last year, and they found it to be really successful. It really helped folks get the information they needed in a timely manner. And so we thought, well, why don't we scale this? Why don't we expand this from one specific marketing deliverable to all the marketing deliverables that a product marketer would touch? And so we really want to give those involved with reInvent launch deliverables a really fast and easy way to find the information that they need. And of course, that information oftentimes can be found in different places. It's not always clear where to find it. Process changes, deadlines change year over year, and sometimes that information becomes out of date quickly. And these are challenges that are very common, whether it's your first reInvent or your fifth reInvent.
Right.
And so, yeah, so if someone wants to learn more about the copy editing process for one of our key assets, the steps they need to follow to get a video created, or deadlines for social media submission, a chatbot can help with that. And it's all in the same place, very easy to access. And as I mentioned before, is available all the time.
That's right. That is right. So, how are you going about creating this chatbot? Give us some details on the actions you're taking.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, there's a team that did this last year, and we wanted to understand what worked, what didn't work, what were some of their challenges. So that was really our first step. We wanted to learn more. And then we talked to a few other stakeholder teams who had expressed similar challenges with wanting to make sure folks had the information they needed, and struggled with being available all the time, but also spending a lot of time answering the same questions. And so we learned that we were not alone in this in this
Yeah.
challenge. And
Yeah.
so my team was like, hey, why don't we all come together and create a new chatbot that anyone can use for getting their questions answered and finding information. I have some really smart and talented Amazonians on my team. I am so incredibly fortunate. And one of them is pretty technical, and she's really interested in tooling. So what she did was a deep dive into our different options for a generative AI chatbot. We looked at the tool that that team had used last year. We looked at a few other internal options, homegrown options, other types of tools. And at AWS, we really love to drink our own champagne, so to speak. And we settled on our own internal deployment of Amazon Q Business. And there were a few reasons for that. One, it's pretty widely adopted internally. Folks are using it regularly. So we wouldn't have a problem with having to train people on how to use this specific tool. We wouldn't have to worry about creating awareness. We wouldn't have to worry about it unexpectedly being deprecated. It's also pretty easy to train,
Okay.
which was also key for us because we wanted to move quickly. And then it's also accessible to everyone. We didn't have to worry about some groups not having the right permissions, because
Mm.
some of our internal tools are restricted to different audiences. And so Amazon Q Business really was the right option for us. And
Wonderful.
so
Mhm.
next we conducted some discovery with all these different stakeholder teams who said, oh yeah, I would be interested in that chatbot too. I have the same challenges. because we really wanted to make sure we captured their requirements in terms of what we needed this to do, but also their input. So when we go to train the bot, it has the right and most accurate information.
Great.
Yeah, so right now, we've currently built our chatbot and we are in the process of training it. Next up, we're going to we've already started some testing, but that will be the next phase, testing both with our stakeholder teams that provided input, with my team, and then of course with some members of our target audience. So folks in the product marketing organization and other people who are very hands-on with launches.
Okay. Well, that's great. You're getting really close. You're getting really close.
Yeah.
So let's talk about two things, just
Mhm.
in a little bit more depth, right? The first one is around
Mhm.
tool selection.
Mhm.
At AWS, I'm sure you have many tools to pick from. And so
Yes.
what options have you tried before, deciding, hey, chatbot is the way to go?
Yeah, so in the past, we've every reInvent we have to field a lot of questions. Folks want to make sure they're doing the right thing. As I mentioned, sometimes process changes year over year. And what we had done in the past was set up dedicated Slack channels to try to get folks an easy way to get their questions answered rather than having to go through an email distribution list. But of course, like that's not automated. We can automate it with sending folks a link to a site. But if they have additional questions, someone has to answer those. So that was a challenge with Slack. We also held office hours, but sometimes those weren't always highly attended. And someone needs to run the office hours.
Sure.
And we also conducted live training, but when you're taking the training, it's not the same thing as when you need the information. So oftentimes we'll distribute training and information early, but you won't always need it until it's time to get in all of your deliverables. So we also have a ton of internal wikis, but that requires going to multiple different places to get the information you need. So we realized that we could do things better. All of these different tools are helpful, but they aren't scalable, and many of them need to be they need a person. They need someone to be there to answer them. We can only conduct so many meetings and respond to so many emails. And we also noticed that we end up that a lot of folks have the same questions. So, and then as I mentioned, like we have a lot of wikis, which are great, but sometimes it's hard to find what you need.
And then
I know
maintain them, right? Like
yeah.
keep them updated. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yes, exactly. And so we evaluated these different options on what we had done in the past. And then we decided that a Gen AI chatbot was really our best path forward, given all our past challenges, given that we needed something that could be 24/7 on demand, that could easily be accessible to everyone. And then, of course, with Gen AI, it feels a lot more personal and a lot more engaging in terms of the interaction, which is the next best thing to talking to a live person.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
Okay, so talking about that, we all know large language models, right? They have
Mhm.
a tendency to help hallucinate sometimes.
Yes.
So what are you doing to minimize that?
Yeah.
Especially because you guys, as I understand, right, are citizen developers.
Yes. Yeah, I always get some really interesting responses from ChatGPT, which is entertaining but not always helpful. And we really want to make sure that our internal customers don't have that experience, because when you're up against the deadline, you might not find it so funny. But this is a really great question. So we're still in that training phase, but we've done a number of things to minimize hallucination. And whether or not because it's not a person, Gen AI tools are just not capable of logic. So we'll never get that down to zero. So our goal was really just to minimize it as much as we can. And one of the key things we focused on was tool selection. So we wanted to make sure we had a really strong tool where we hadn't heard feedback from others. Oh yeah, I got this really strange response from Amazon Q Business. We hadn't heard any of those things, so that's always a plus. So we really did our due diligence when it came to tooling. Another step that we took is making sure that the chatbot is properly trained with high quality data and information. As we get closer and closer to reInvent, we are going to be continually updating our chatbot as data, deadlines, information changes. And we also have very clearly defined prompts, which helps us have a little bit more control over what the chatbot, how it responds. And so the testing that the team last year did, we also learned a lot from them in terms of like what worked, what didn't work with their chatbot, and how they were able to develop it in such a way that folks got the actual responses they were looking for.
Okay. Okay, cool. I'm glad, I look forward to hear more about that, right? But I guess what also I look forward to hear more about are the other results. So I understand, you're about you have started testing and you're about to deploy it, and coming at the end of this year, you're gonna go through the fire with reInvent, and so talk to us about your. What you're hoping for, right? Like in terms of the return, you talk to other teams, both kind of, quantitatively, but also qualitatively. Like what do you hope to see? Like if we were to talk again, let's just say in January of 2026, right? What would you hope to tell me, the results?
Yeah, so we have a few key metrics that we're tracking. One, of course, is the qualitative feedback. Oh, this chatbot was so easy to use. I was able to get the information I needed at 2 a.m. when I was up against the deadline. I mean, no one wants to be working at 2 a.m., but if you are, you want to make sure you're getting the answers that you need. So I think that qualitative feedback from our internal customers will be really key, as well as the different stakeholder marketing teams that we work with. And then that quantitative piece will also be really important. We're looking at a few different things, like we have a good idea of the number of people in our target audience for this chatbot. So we want to try to get some metrics on adoption, on number of users, number of visits, things like that, to see are people coming to use the chatbot, and then do we have repeat customers? So those are some of the things we're really interested in. And then the other one is time saving. Talking to some of our internal customers to understand like how much time did this save you from searching for information? Did it save you time from having to join an office hour only to wait for everyone else to get your question and their questions answered? So that's the other aspect we're looking at, as well as the other folks who contributed to this chatbot and my team. What is the number of like hours estimated or time estimated that we saved by not answering these same questions that a lot of folks have? So those are some of the qualitative and quantitative metrics that we're looking at for success. And I know the team that had the chatbot last year said it reduced the amount of time they spent answering questions by around 50%. So if we could even get 25%, we would be really happy.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Hopefully to replicate their success, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a really again, I look forward to hearing more about it, and once you guys have had a chance to go through it at least once, what you end up being able to measure, right? So that's great.
Yeah.
So last question, if you were to tell others who are thinking about building their own chatbots, right? What would be the three things you would tell them?
Another great question. So, based on what my experience and what we've learned, the first one would probably be picking the right tool. I think tool selection is so important, especially for us because we're more of that citizen developer. I certainly am not a coding technical expert, but we wanted to make sure that it was a tool that would be easy for our team to use, train, and deploy. So if you don't have, if you aren't a coder by trade or don't have strong coding skills, Amazon Q Business is a great option. We also wanted to You also want to make sure that it's something people will actually use, that people know about. If you have multiple different tool options, making sure it's one that is widely adopted, that folks know about, that's really intuitive, and making sure that it's a tool that will be around for a long time. I know for a lot of companies,
Yeah.
Gen AI is still in the early phases,
Uh-huh.
and you don't want to pick a tool that your organization might not standardize on. So, only to
Yeah.
have to go through this again. Um, I think the second thing, in terms of lessons learned, is having a clearly defined purpose and goal for the chatbot. And so, what we've learned both in our experience building this as well as from the other team that had done this is having these goals and purpose helps with building the chatbot out. It helps with prompts. It helps with user adoption because they know specifically what it's for. In our case, getting their questions answered about reInvent versus potentially one of our other AWS events. So really making sure that that is clear both for us and our internal customers and other stakeholders. Speaking of stakeholders, I think it's really important to bring your friends to the party.
Sure.
Um,
Yes.
this,
Uh-huh.
yeah, this will help with requirements gathering, making sure that you have the right data for training the generative AI chatbot, as well as testing, because you want to make sure you do a really good job of testing, and then you have these subject matter experts who can tell you, yes, it's telling us the right thing, or no, it isn't. And then that also will hopefully translate to high user adoption because they'll let all of their internal customers know, hey, we've got this great chat bot. This will really help you as you're ramping up for reInvent and help spread the word.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
I thought those are all very good points to
Yeah.
share with the community for sure.
Mhm.
So that's it. I'm going to stop recording now.